So, match of the night?
What?
Wait,
You said that so quick. What the fuck?
Yeah, would you guys say that this is match of the night? We're talking about Kevin Owens versus John Cena here.
I would say definitely by far. It was my favorite match of the night. They gave him a good 20 minutes at least, I think. So it told a really good story. I was not necessarily happy with the outcome, but I'm going to pass it back to you guys. Let's see what you say.
What do you think, Wago?
Now, personally, I would have put Kevin Owens over. It's not a bad thing that they didn't. There's actual benefits from it, too. If John Cena loses twice, back-to-back to Kevin Owens, then why do they need to wrestle again? And this is obviously a long-term feud. Now, if I was going to book it, I would have had Kevin Owens powerbomb him on the apron like he did Sami Zayn and just have the match in there. You don't technically even have to say John Cena lost. It could have just gone to a fucking fuck finish, no contest, whatever. Kevin Owens stood a lot more to gain by beating John Cena here back to back, but at the same time, with him losing to Cena now he doesn't have that air of invincibility, which cripples guys in the long run. Because eventually, even if they intended to or not, they end up with an undefeated streak. And if that's not your gimmick, but it's mentioned on commentary, it fucks you over. There's been a few guys that have had that undefeated streak, and then they've lost the first time, and
The most recent one is Rusev.
Yep, it just sucked the life out of them. So, at least he doesn't have that now. And he was very competitive against John Cena. And he came out on top at the end of the match. He lost, but he still laid Cena's ass out.
Well, at least when Rusev lost, he lost to Cena. It's not like when Bo lost, he lost to freaking R-Truth.
God damn it, Bo. That's the same opinion that I had going into this. That's why I wanted John Cena to win, because you look at what happened on Monday Night Raw. Kevin Owens hasn't lost any steam. He doesn't have that stigma of being the undefeated guy anymore, but they did it in such a way that he still looks the same as he did before, if not even better, now that they did this whole thing with Machine Gun Kelly. People aren't talking about how Kevin Owens lost. They're talking about how Kevin Owens is a fucking man. And he doesn't have to win matches now, but he will. And there was a lot in this match that I really liked. Somebody, Sean, had sent me on Twitter, said, "Do you think that this is match of the year?" And I was like, you know what? This is a possible candidate for it. I've got, I think, 3 matches in my notes right now for the end of the year awards, and 2 of the potential match of the year candidates are Kevin Owens versus John Cena and Kevin Owens versus John Cena. These two have great chemistry together. And shit, if we're talking about how the pre-show started off a little bit weird, the Money in the Bank started off weird, the pre-Divas match promo was terrible and whatever, the very first thing I noticed in this match was something that made me go, oh, this is going to be a fun segment. And that was somebody in the crowd holding up a Simpsons sign that said, "The Cena the."
Yes.
And I laughed so hard, and everybody's looking at me, and they're like, what the fuck is funny? What did I miss? And I'm like, the sign says, "The Cena the." Oh, you don't know? Okay, well, that means die, Bart, die, that kind of thing. But
Sideshow Bob has his tattoo.
yeah, I had to explain that whole thing, and then it was like, oh, it's not that funny anymore. And I'm like, but it was funny in the crowd, I loved the very beginning of this match to the very end of it. I thought it was great. Owens pulls out a lot of moves like the senton, or the swanton, whatever you would call it, I don't know. Kicking out of the attitude adjustment. Cena gets real pissed off at Mike Chioda. He almost seems like, he's the heel in the thing and stuff, and that's fun to tease. You've got that power bomb turned into the Hurricanrana, then Owens just fucking super kicks him right afterward. This match was just fucking awesome, and the only downside to it is that Cena botched the springboard stunner at the end. But he hit an attitude adjustment. He got the win with that. And it's a good thing that they didn't have the STF, because Kevin Owens shouldn't be tapping out. And then they followed it up with a great way. I mean, John Cena, trying to do the whole respectful thing, because that's in his character. And Kevin Owens being like, hey, fuck you, buddy, because that's in his character. And even better that the crowd went nuts for it because it was like, then it was like that fun going against the grain kind of thing that is always entertaining when it comes to WWE. I loved this from beginning to the end, and this was like, if this match would have sucked, this probably would have went down as my least favorite pay-per-view of the year, because at this point it would have been like, well, now we have nothing. Like, ladder match was disappointing. Kevin Owens and John Cena didn't even have a good match. Fuck them. You know, I probably would have went into the next two matches just being like, I don't give a shit anymore. But this brought me back a little bit. And that's what made the last segment of the night fun. I was 100% on board with this, though. As I said at the beginning of this, easily my match of the night. Where do you guys think this goes from here? Is this something that Kevin Owens should get the U.S. title at Battleground? Should they drag this out to SummerSlam in some way? What do you think?
I think he should get the title.
He stated recently in some type of interview, or maybe it was on a show, that he's after the US title now.
Yep.
I don't want the title to be involved. I like the whole champion versus champion thing. I like the idea that the NXT title is the most important title. Do you want to know why it is? Because I hold it. Fuck your title. I like that element of Kevin Owens. And it's weird. With John Cena holding the US title, it elevates the US title. I don't know if it does the same if Kevin Owens holds it.
That's true.
So I would prefer him not to hold it. I prefer him to lose that NXT title to Finn Balor, maybe through John Cena interfering at the Japan show. That might be a good time to do it. And go from there and just keep building this feud. I'm fine to see this play out for another 3 months. This is one of the few John Cena feuds where I actually like it, and it's because Kevin Owens is the man. He went, yo, you know what'd be good? If I did all that heel shit that people did in the 80s and 90s.
You know what'd be good? If I did stuff that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's people backstage that are like, oh shit, when you do good things, it's good.
We can do that? No, I agree. This was definitely match of the night for me. And like you said, you know, going through all the matches this year, this is definitely a match of the year candidate, in my opinion. Both of the matches that they've done have been fantastic. They put in a lot of time. It's hard fought from both of the guys. Like you had touched on before, I love the points where John Cena was showing those heel tendencies where he's like arguing with the ref. That was a really cool part of it. I still wasn't so happy about John Cena going over clean. I know I'm okay. I'm a little better with it now since I saw the aftermath. What followed it up on Raw. Kevin Owens still looks like a badass. I don't think it really hurt him too much in the long run. But part of my prediction was I was thinking John Cena was going to win, but by disqualification. I think I still rather would have seen that to push Kevin Owens that far that he's like, you know what, I can't beat him, so I'm just going to do everything I can, and then he ends up, getting disqualified through some means. I think I still would have preferred that ending. I was not happy. I almost always root for Cena, I know. I almost always root for Cena to win. I'm a Cena fan, admittedly. And this time I wanted Owens to go over. The fact that Cena won disappointed me, but based on how they're going from this point on with Owens, I'm okay with it.
So where do you think they should go from Battleground and SummerSlam? Do you think that if they drag it out, they should have like a title match at Battleground and then something crazy at SummerSlam or whatever? Because I'm starting to think that they shouldn't go to SummerSlam. And actually, even though I wanted Kevin Owens to win the U.S. title, I don't know if I really would want that to happen now. I mean, it's kind of a catch-22. Like, I don't want Cena to lose the belt, but I don't want Owens to not win it. Like, it's very odd.
One of the things I thought was strange is one of the new Owens shirts, the Fight Owens Fight shirt. It has the colors, and it reminds me very much of the U.S. title.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know if he's worn that one on the show or not. I know they have it in the WWE shop.
I think he's worn it on Raw.
Okay, maybe he has, but I thought that was interesting that it very much looks like the title. So maybe that's foreshadowing. I don't know.
Now, what if they did champion versus champion, both belts on the line? How crazy would it be if John Cena was NXT champion?
I think that would be cool, but I'm probably the only person in the world who thinks that.
I'd be down for it.
I'd be
Oddly enough.
fine with Cena being in NXT if he actually was a heel.
Why as a
But
heel?
because he's trying to fuck all these young guys over and just keep it'd be perfect. He could literally become the LOL Cena wins gimmick. But as a heel, I think it worked fantastic. I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. A lot of people said they preferred this match over their first. I think the first one was significantly better. I think it told a better story. I think there was an element of surprise which wasn't here in the second one. This one we expected a good match. The first one was, is Cena going to fuck this guy? So I enjoyed this match thoroughly, but I enjoyed that first outing a lot more. And I think part of it came to my satisfaction of the ending versus this ending. And the other issue is Cena fucked up the ending. It wasn't exactly, it didn't take too much away from the match, but it's kind of hard to ignore when it's the setup move to the finale.
Do you guys like that stunner? I don't.
I think it's way too fucking clunky. I would have been fine with it. I'm actually with Stone Cold on the opinion that if he used it as one of those special finishers, kind of like Orton uses the punt, and actually could land it every time, I'd be fine with it. But it's too clunky and messy right now, and I appreciate Cena for trying to evolve his moveset, but that's not for him.
I don't like moves that make it look like the only reason it happens is because the other guy lets it happen. Like, what was that move that MVP did?
The overdrive?
Was that it where he put the leg on top of the guy's head?
Yeah, it's the one that Randy Orton used. He used to call it probably something ghetto, but it's called the overdrive.
That is one of the worst moves in wrestling history. Because it's like, you can't sell me on the idea that you're moving the guy in that way. That guy is moving himself.
And the annoying part is it actually got a stigma to it because it became truth. That is the move you use when you don't have a finisher yet.
But it's like, there's a lot of moves that you can go, okay, the guy, somebody from the top rope and you could see them position themselves. All right, suspension of disbelief. Or a power bomb. That guy can literally, he's got his head underneath the other person in between their legs. All he has to do is go dead weight and he probably won't be able to pick him up.
Yeah, also, if I stop letting myself stand, he can't do this move to me.
Right, like, but there's a different level of disbelief when it comes to that, and then a move like the springboard stunner, where, like, John Cena launches himself into the ropes, bounces backward, not knowing where the people are, and they run up to him and catch him, and then he does a stunner, like...
I think people, let it pass, because visually, it's actually a very impressive move. He gets a lot of height and distance on that. I hate to be his tailbone.
I would just like to see somebody that could pull it off better. Like, I could see, Kalisto doing that move and selling it where I believe it.
It would have to be a very luchador-esque guy, because even if Neville did it, it'd still look clunky, just because of the body type, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, the maximum that you would be able to get was, a Justin Gabriel. He might be able to pull that off. Well, he's not in the company anymore, though. So.
Good old PJ Black, or whatever it is.
Yeah. But when it boils down to Kevin Owens versus John Cena, this feud is great. Kevin Owens is the fucking man, and definitely the highlight of the night. What did you guys think about this? Leave a comment below. What were you going to say, Caleb?
I was just going to say I agree. It was the highlight of the night. But like Wago said, I preferred their first match. This one was great, too, though.
Tell us that, too, if you think the first match is better or the second match is better, or what you think is going to happen in the third. The third could always be the best, too. We've got 2 more matches to talk about. Primetime player versus primetime players. I'm botching all over the place here. Pulling a springboard stunner. Versus the New Day in part 9. And that'll be coming up right next.
Prime trailers.
The primetime clubs.
The primetime prayers sound awesome. They could be fucking like a religious cult. Oh, Jesus. Please give me millions of dollars. Millions of dollars.